Yes, welcome to the No Stay Project, live from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona for September 22nd, 2018. Glad to be with you here this Saturday for 3 hours of Anarchy Radio right here on my YouTube channel. Also, No Stay Project. So glad everyone is tuning in. Today, you want to join me on the big show. It's 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020 with the pound sign. 2020 with the pound sign or the hashtag will get you into the queue. Not a toll-free number, as you could tell by the 218 area code. You can also join me on Skype at FrankRizzo3. Instant message me first, and I will bring you up on a break. So for those who are new and watching on the YouTube stream, this is a radio broadcast. That's why I mentioned the Liberty Radio Network. On Wednesday and then on Thursday now, the show is commercial free. It's just here on my YouTube channel. But today, on Saturday, it is a radio broadcast. And so every quarter of the hour, we're going to have commercials. So that's why there's not going to be any audio there. So also, I will be pulling the live stream down tonight. I'm going to put the good audio up. It'll just be audio only of the broadcast, and it will be commercial free. So don't get married to the comment section, okay? That is why the comment, why I do that. So we can have the better audio, which is really what's necessary. This is just the medium. So we can reach more people. So again, if you think there's a nefarious purpose behind me deleting the video, then take some solace in your delusion. There, I'm not, I'm not at a point where I give a damn. Let's see. We do have a lot to get to today, and we will get to the calls. But I always like to, for new people, would say, what is it about anarchy, and why is that the view that we take when we go into court? And anarchy is an absence of rulers. Now, that's the definition that I'm using, and that's usually the definition that a self-proclaimed anarchist will use. It is no rulers. It's a rejection of the ruling class, or the concept of a ruling class. And it's not a rejection of rules. It's a rejection of a ruling class, of having a small group of men and women violently control societies, and under the guise of providing services and protection. So we reject that, because we believe that the principle of do no harm is a pretty good principle to live our lives by, and that principle should apply to everybody. And so by using that principle of do no harm and applying it to everybody without the distinction, the artificial distinction of legal and illegal, which, yeah, that changes on a whim. It used to be legal to own people as property. It's not anymore, because morality won out, ethics won out on that one. At least, well, we still have slavery, but we don't have slavery like we used to have, where people were literally owned as property. Now we're just treated as property. By applying that basic principle and saying, okay, and looking at men and women who force us to give them money and call themselves government, that destroys any notion that they are there to protect your life, liberty, property, and that they're doing it as as agents of the people. No. Agents don't force the principle to do. No, okay? So if I, or you listening, if you're one like me, oh, the G's not gone, by the way. Perception. I forgot. I shouldn't have done that, and I lost my train of thought. But, oh yes, if we were to force strangers to give us money, doesn't matter under what guise we're forcing strangers to give us money. What matters is that we're using force, and we're harming them. We're threatening them with harm, and we're maybe even causing harm and damage. We're injuring them. So if we're criminals and it's unethical and immoral for us to do it, it's unethical for a group of people called government. So if you're being attacked by one of them, so you're going to court or whatnot, this matters because hey, they are supposedly having to give you a fair and impartial hearing. That due process requires notice and opportunity to defend in a fair trial. That you have an opportunity to be informed, that then you can, all the evidence that's being used against you and evidence that shows that you're innocent. Called the Brady material if you're in the United States, exculpatory information or evidence if you are outside the United States. It's still called that in the U.S., but we like to call it Brady. So, we know we can then use that when we go into their courts to start pointing out where things are wrong. And we should be objecting, and it doesn't matter if it's I don't care. I look at the results, and the results, we've been pretty damn successful on three continents, including that there, Israel. The results are what matter. If you want to split a hair and say, that's not a valid objection, use it. An objection is valid if you have legitimate grounds to show that what they're doing is unfair. And I'm going to take that. So if somebody wants to sit on their thumb and start screaming that it's imaginary, or they want to break, they want to piss all over the world, that's fine. It's just a YouTube comment. You have to look at the logic behind it, and you have to look at, has it been effective? Has it been replicated? And yes, it is logical. It has been replicated, and you can go to markstevens.net. You can see that. So always do an independent investigation. So that's why we bring these issues. Why we take the anarchist mindset. It's really just being a skeptic and going in there, knowing that if they're claiming to provide a fair trial, we know that we're going to see what they're actually doing, and that will conflict with that. Having the judge assume the prosecutor's burden of proof before he's even seen the file, that's unfair. That should be objected to. Grossly unfair. Well, there's not a specific objection because the judge isn't taking, he's not presuming you innocent. If he's not presuming you innocent, it's unfair. So even if there's not a written, set in stone objection, says you can object if they don't presume you innocent. Still do it because it's unfair. There's no logical reason to go in such a box. I have to do just what the lawyers before me have done. I have to do only what the lawyers have told us. No, if it's logical and brings out a contradiction and shows that the proceeding is unfair, you should. I would object. And YouTube comments notwithstanding, I would object because, hey, it's my life on the line, and we need to do what is necessary to bring out that the proceedings themselves are unfair. They cannot put you on trial and be fair. But speaking of trial, most of us probably listening to the show have heard this, that Cody Wilson, who's the 3D gun creator, one of them anyway, was arrested in Taiwan for a warrant that was issued in Texas for allegedly having sex with a minor, that he paid $500 to have sex with a 16-year-old. I want to say right off the bat here that I'm not saying that his people are going to reach out to me, but it has happened in the past. This is not directed towards Cody Wilson and his people. I don't want anybody contacting me suggesting that I should have or offer help to Cody Wilson. I have absolutely no interest whatsoever in assisting Cody or his lawyers. I want nothing to do with the incident. So please don't do that. I do disagree that prostitution should be illegal, but when we're talking about 15-year-olds, that's that kind of a sketchy area there and whatnot. But please spare me the emails saying that I should help. I have, again, it's no interest on my part, and I'm certain there's no interest on Cody Wilson's part to have anything to do with me in any kind of assistance that I could offer here. But I will be back with your calls in just a moment. Don't go away. Yes, welcome back to the No Say Project here, live from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona. And you want to join the big show, it's 218-632 9399 218-632-9399. Passcode is 2020 and a pound sign. And before we get to the calls, I do want to point out that Cody Wilson is an alleged. It's alleged. We don't know if these allegations are true at all. You have to temper that with the fact he is a highly he is a political figure. Well, I know he's proclaims to be an anarchist. I'm just saying he got into caused quite a controversy about what he was doing with the 3D guns, and he certainly has a real abafungal attitude towards any criticism. So that we have to look at that. Typically, it's easy enough for them to just take, they maybe they could do it remotely. Maybe they don't even need a thumb drive anymore, that they just hook up to your computer and upload some child porn. That's a typical attack that they'll use against a political enemy. So it's not surprising, given that the history of intelligence agencies doing things like that. So it's not surprising that somebody who is putting, doing 3D guns that can't be tracked. Not surprising that he having allegations like that leveled against him. But that notwithstanding that they could be completely false against him, this is a mutual thing here. I just don't want to start getting emails like I've had on other high profile cases like this. Both sides are probably absolutely no interest whatsoever in helping each other. Zero. Do not email me. Don't Skype me. Don't call the show and say, dude, no. I'm putting my foot down on this. I will absolutely not entertain any emails or where people are saying I have to do something to help. This is a mutual thing. I'm almost certain of that. He would have. So let's just that's out of the way. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, maybe I'll get an intermission sign. I like it to look sort of professional. I know. Because, people complain, making comments about the breaks that some people may sign on and I'm not here. Yeah, all right. Well, I understand that. Maybe I'll have to do something like that. That's why if I was able to use OBS, I could do something like that. So, Oh, see, that's kind of a Mike. That's a comment that would really get underneath Cody Wilson's skin, that you didn't recognize his name. So, you would think, though, somebody with that high a profile, who has to know he's under surveillance. That's why it doesn't. He would have to be monumentally stupid to have done what they accused him of, considering the media attention that he has gotten the last, since at least 2014, especially in the last year. Arrogant, yeah. Dismissive, hell yes, that's Cody Wilson. But stupid to know he's under, he had to know that he would be a target of something, or the surveillance. So to do something, so if the facts are correct, absolutely monumentally stupid, and I would say out of character for someone like that. Yeah, I still don't want to do anything to help the situation anyway. So, so hopefully people will heed that and not clog up my email any more than it already is. He's got some more questions regarding court procedure and whatnot. We got Tommy Boy back on the big show. Hey, how's it going today?
Hey, Mark. I've got you on speakerphone. How's it sound?
You actually sound pretty good for speakerphone.
Okay. Well, you're I've got it plugged into my four-way rig here, and it normally sounds really good, but your end sounds like crap. But anyway.
My end always sounds like crap, so...
Yeah, it just sounds weird today.
We kind of live with that, though, here.
Our role play the other night, you left me a little bit in a pickle here, because when the situation came up for the defendant when the judge baits him to say, go ahead and argue your motions. I've read your motions twice. Go ahead. I'm going to give you your fair day in court. Go ahead and argue your motions. And your response to it, and from what all of us guys have been doing for a long time, seem to be completely at odds. And I'm a little bit confused.
How so?
Well, what we like to do is, first off, we've taken the painstaking time in putting these motions together. We've taken the time to make sure everybody gets them. They're certified. We've taken the time to call, to actually try to resolve it. And the motions are clear. When the judge baits us into saying, go ahead and argue your motion, for one, we're nervous as hell. Why would we even want to do that? And our argument is clear. If we start to speak, doesn't it supersede our argument that's very clear in the piece of paper?
Well, when I talk about speaking, I'm saying about asking for the evidence that the motion lays out is missing from the prosecution's complaint. It's basically I even said you can direct your question to the prosecutor. Does the prosecution have the evidence to overcome the motion? You're not necessarily restating each argument that's in the motion. You're putting the prosecution on the spot.
Well, either the phone just died or something, but I heard the very end of what you said. The prosecution has the. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I can hear you now. All right. So again, yes, we're trying to keep the prosecutor's feet to the fire, of course, with only questions.
Yeah.
But our arguments, I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword, Mark. We are asking how the rules and everything apply to us, and then we turn around and file the motion to dismiss and the request for Brady and blah, blah, blah. It's sort of a double-edged sword. We don't want to argue that we're right. We still want to only ask questions, but we're filing a motion here that the judge can say, well, go ahead and argue it. Okay. It's just, we try to stay away from arguments, right? Again, you brought up the other day that you go right back to asking about how does the Constitution apply and how do the laws and statutes apply? Is that what your response would be if the judge said, go ahead, Mr. Stevens, go ahead. I've read your motions twice. Go ahead and argue your motions, please.
Okay, well, let's clear things up a little bit. We have to argue in a motion. The difference is when we get into court, we don't want to necessarily make statements. But we're going to have to make some statements, such as the prosecution has failed to meet the burden. We have to. We can't be effective unless we do that. At some point, we're going to have to make a statement. The thing is, the statement that we make should keep the burden of proof on the prosecution. That's why if we say, look, prosecution doesn't have the evidence, this way if they disagree, the burden is still on the prosecution. Hold on a second. We're up against the break. We're not going to be able to hear anything anyway. My name is Mark Stevens. We're going to another break here on the Liberty Radio Network. Well, actually, the No State Project. So we're going to have a few minutes without audio on the YouTube stream. So don't worry, but we'll be back in just a few moments with Tom in just a moment. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. And g'day from Mesa there, mate. What part of Australia? We got Mr. Zoltan checking in from down under. Welcome back, everybody. You want to join the big show? It's 218-632-9399. 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020 with the 2020 with the hashtag will get you into the queue. And so if you want to discuss anarchy, government abuse, police abuse, defending yourself in court, or you just think that I'm wrong, I'm making up objections, I'm just making it up. They're work. And that's the thing. It's one thing to make up an objection. What really counts, what really counts is, was it effective? Has it proven effective? I thought lawyers and legal types loved precedents. Changing things for the better. That is the key. Is it, like I said in the first segment, is it logical? And is it effective? And can you replicate it? And on all three counts, we've got it. So why toss it aside? Why? Because you don't want to go to the past tradition. You know what Socrates and Aristotle would say about an appeal to tradition. Well, it's not the way we usually do it. Well, maybe the way you usually do it isn't effective. Anyway, I'm going to bring Tom back. So, Tom, what I was saying is, if we're going to make an assertion, if we're going to make an argument, it should be where we're keeping the burden of proof on the prosecution.
Right. Well, and you said that as far as making a statement, we do make a statement. We don't, all of us tell everyone, don't say my motion stands on its own. That's not the statement we make. The simple statement is we try to come at this like a Columbo. And we try to come at this as you used to say, hey, I'm not an attorney, judge. I'm here to, I intend on pleading guilty. I'm just trying to understand what's all happening. I filed these motions. I did my homework. Everything is very clear in those motions. Maybe you could ask me a specific question that you might not understand in those motions. I'm not going to argue my motion, Mark. It's in there. Why would I argue it when I'm standing there scared hopeless? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you should have some fear and trepidation. So maybe what you can do is you can ask the judge, do you see any merit in any of the arguments that were raised?
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
And he goes, well, I'm not here to answer your question. So, well, if you see, but this is to save, preserve precious judicial resources. Why should I argue my motion for 10 minutes if you don't see any merit to it whatsoever? Right.
Well, Mark, listen, this call is really breaking up, man. I'd like to keep talking. It's a great topic, and I hope we'll talk about it again, but this call is terrible. I'm going to hang up, bro.
Hopefully it's just your line. Okay. I hope. Thanks, Tom. I hope it is just Tom's line, because it is an important issue here. We need to discuss it, especially when people who are new. And I got to say, g'day to our mate in Western Australia. That means a lot that someone from Western Australia. Well, again, what else is there to do? But I appreciate them tuning in. Tom's right, and we say it many times. We never want to go in and have the judge say, this is the time for the motion, to hear the motion. Do you have any additional argument, or go, argue. We definitely never want to say, I'm standing on the motion, I have nothing to add. But whatever we do say, maybe we can summarize. So after asking the judge, and he may not answer, we ask the prosecution, and they don't answer, and they can go through their verbal diarrhea, talking about anything but the evidence and trying to find that they don't have to prove something. And if in their argument, if they say they don't have to prove that, or they lie in some other way saying that they don't need evidence prior to trial, then you object because they're lying. Now, is there a formal objection because the prosecutor is lying? There should be if there isn't one. Does it mean, and let's just say for sake of argument, because I know it's going to come up, should we not argue? Let's just say for sake of argument that there is no formal objection if a lawyer is actually lying. Does that mean you shouldn't do it? I got to tell you, I don't need a formal, objection to turn around and object and call a lawyer out, or anyone in court who's lying. Of course, I'm going to say that they're lying, and I'm going to use the word objection to preserve it. Especially if the judge lets it go, I have to object, because now you have the judge denying a fair hearing or a fair trial because he's allowing the prosecutor to actually lie. The judge is supposed to be a fair, impartial, independent decision maker. I know that's hilarious. And it would be unfair and therefore denial of due process for the judge to accept a lie, especially a brazen lie, from the prosecutor. I think you would do yourself a disservice to not object when something is unfair just because you can't find a formal objection in the legal canons somewhere. Well, it's just, my hands are tied. I can only do what lawyers have done before. No, no. These are criminals who are trying to change your life and take your money and steal from you. We don't have to stay in that box. Yeah, there are certain things we have to do. But there is a lot that we don't have to do. And so, yeah, if someone's lying, call them out on it. If you want to soften the language a bit, say they're misrepresenting the truth. But I like how the media is coming out and finally calling politicians liars. They should. When someone's lying, say it. And I'm not going to retreat. Well, anyway, we've got callers. So I'm hoping the problem with the line was on Tom's end. Tom said, I called one of my persecutors by his first name and asked if it was his first day on the job. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's another thing that judges don't like. They don't like when you call them Mr. Smith or you call them by their first name. Why? Because they're arrogant, violent, cretins. They're violent people. And I've even said, if you're an activist, it's one thing to call a judge by his first name. But I always still, but I say, look, be professional. Call them, it's ma'am or sir. But don't give them an inch as far as the title. And if they say, I insist that you call me your honor, you fire back like I've done and you say, well, then I insist that you call me your highness. If you want to play that stupid title game, you will address me as your highness. I could be just, I can play that game also. So let's go to a new caller. We got area code 910. You're live on the No State Project. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm Kelly, and I'm calling from North Carolina.
What did you get? Were you damaged? Did you suffer any damage this past week?
A little bit. Without of power for a couple of days. Had my basement flooded about 3 feet deep, but nothing too bad inside anyway.
Oh, well, I'm glad it was minimal on your end. So what can I do for you today?
Yeah, I had a few questions. I've been watching you for quite some time now. I haven't really chimed in on anything, but I've kind of feel like I'm being harassed by a certain agency. It's child support, actually. I'm trying to comply with it, but I don't like the fact that I could go to jail, say if I lose my job tomorrow. You know what I mean?
What kind of charges
just recently, I'm sorry?
What kind of charges are you looking at?
And they want to up my child support.
Oh gosh. DR is never a good time. We're up against a break, Gary, so just hold on for a moment. My name is Mark Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project right here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM. If you want to join me, it's 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. Passcode is 2020. Welcome back to the No State Project. It's Saturday, September 22nd, live from the Fortified Compound in Mesa, Arizona. You can join us on the big show, 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020 with the pound sign. And also on Skype at Frank Rizzo 3, but you got to instant message me first. So I want to get back to the calls. Got Gary in North Carolina. So you're saying that you've had a divorce or you've had some domestic case in court and you were ordered to do child support, and now they have filed to modify that and raise it?
Yeah.
Okay. Has there been a hearing on this yet? Have you responded to their petition or their motion to modify?
Yeah, they sent me 2 letters, and I sent it back to them. But
why would you
my
say?
ex-wife?
Why did you? What did the letter say, and why did you send it back?
I watch a couple things. I'm not 100% sure on everything that I see on the web, but I was told it was a contract, so I told them, that I didn't want a contract with them because that was a different branch of the agency or part or something like that. So I told them that I didn't want a contract 2 times, and I'd send it. What is that? Registered mail or certified mail?
Oh, jeez. What?
But I haven't received a hearing date yet.
Well,
but my ex is telling me that it's already set.
It's kind of tough to respond to something that you sent back. What were the grounds to modify?
The 3-year review.
It's a 3-year review. Okay, but what are the grounds to modify? Were there any grounds in there to modify?
I'm not 100% sure, because all I know is they said that every 3 years there's the option to review, and Mom said yes, she wanted to review. Okay. Then I get a letter in the mail showing, how much money I make and how much they're going to take from me, and I never authorized all that, and I thought that wasn't wasn't allowed.
Okay, so hold on. Okay, so her lawyer sent you a letter.
This was child support directly. Sent it to me.
They sent it to you, and it was just a letter. It wasn't a motion to the court to modify, and they gave you details on how they wanted it modified.
Yes. Yeah, they said that because 3 years has lapsed, they said that they're going to intervene and basically have my payment make my payment more.
Do they have any evidence at all that would justify a modification as they are asking for?
I don't know. As many times as I've been locked up for child support, they say it's state law.
But to modify the child support order, there still has to be proof to justify how they want it modified. So if they want to come in and say, for example, it's been 3 years, and in those 3 years, the respondent has increased their holdings by $500,000, and based on this schedule from that the courts have to determine child support, he should be paying this percentage more. Do they do anything like that?
Nope, absolutely not.
Well, I have had success in DR doing that, where somebody went to modify a child support, and they had no evidence whatsoever to support the claim. They just said, "I want it modified," and so to give a little bit of detail, I did raise the issue of standing, that they have to show. They have to show where they're being hurt by this. And, let's say, for example, someone's got a child support order that says, let's say they're making $1,000 a week and they have to give $200, for child support. They lose their job. They can't afford it. They're being hurt by this order, and it's through no fault of their own. So they have facts and evidence to show that they have standing to complain about a modification. And so the lawyer...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The lawyer, I was working with someone who could not go to court on their own, so they wound up getting a lawyer to do it, and the lawyer wanted to know, well, I'm familiar with the issue of standing, but I've never seen it used in a DR case. I said, well, it should still, yes. So, yeah, some will say I just pulled it right out of my butt. But you know what? I've got an order granting the motion to dismiss the respondent's petition to modify. In fact, I have 2 of them from the same case. So I explained it to him like I'm explaining to you, and then he had to, when it got to court, it was a new judge, and the judge was saying, "Look, I've done DR for years, but this is my first week as a judge from the Attorney General's office. Can you run over this issue of standing with me?" And so. The attorney laid it out and said, look, just like with any proceeding in court, you have to lay out where, you're being hurt, and so that, and that you have evidence to show that, so that you can get a modification. So, well, it makes sense. Yeah. Okay, great. And because the respondent was not able to produce any evidence to support any claim that he was being hurt by the order and couldn't comply with the order out of any fault of his own, his petition to modify was denied. So I would do the same thing if I was with you. I would look to see if they have any evidence whatsoever to support their petition to modify. Just because it's been 3 years doesn't mean that in and of itself is a reason to modify. Your circumstances had to have changed, or the plaintiff's circumstances had to have changed.
Yeah, my circumstances did change because at the time, when child support was set to, be into my life until my kids were old enough. At the time, I don't want to say in between jobs, but I was kind of subcontracting, I guess you could say. So some weeks I could make like $1,000, and the next week I'd make like 200. Yeah, some weeks, I wouldn't make anything. So that's why I didn't feel that was that it was a just thing saying, oh, we don't pay child support for 1 month in the state of North Carolina, you automatically go to court. And if you don't have any money, then you automatically go to jail. I've been there twice, and every time I went in there, with a little bit of legal knowledge and bringing up Supreme Court rulings, the letter from the DOJ, and they didn't want to hear it.
What letter from the DOJ?
It said that the first option for child support when you go to court, the first option should not be lock them up. It should be try to establish a repayment plan or something. But that was from the letter of Department of Justice, I want to say back in 2016.
Yeah, they slowly get to where the first objective is to lock somebody up. They call it a purge. So let's say if somebody
the attorney was like, okay, fine, we'll accept that, and the judge didn't want to hear that.
Well, what I was saying was that what they like to call it's a purge. So if someone is behind, for example, on child support, and they can't show any evidence to show that it's not willful, what they do is they put you in, and they good cop you. They say, well, we're going to put you in jail for a purge, and you hold the keys to your own jail cell. All you have to do is come up with this much cash. So they would still have to have some facts to justify their claim that arrears justify their claim that a modification is necessary. So how much of a percentage are they looking to increase this?
A substantial amount, because back when I was placed on child support, the state minimum, they had just changed it. It was if a person was not working, they changed it from basically minimum wage to $50 a month. So I went, when I started working, I started paying $50 a week. Okay. And then they went back to the child support court. They said, just give us another $11, which would go to the arrears. So,
not I was
good paying to be in arrears.
Okay.
$61 a week, but now they want $786 a week. I'm sorry, a month.
786. Well, they would have to be able to justify that. I got to let you go. We're at the top of the hour break. If you have any questions, give us a call on the Wednesday show or shoot me an email. My name is Mark Stevens. Listen to the No State Project here on LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network. Even in DR, they have to have some evidence to support their claim that a modification is warranted. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project here on LRN.FM and the Liberty Radio Network, and streaming live on my YouTube channel. Of course, it's No State Project over there. Get subbed because we're going to be doing a lot more live shows, and I'm not always going to be able to advertise and let people know in advance. But you will know if you are subbed, so do that. If you want to join me on the big show, it's 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020. And the hashtag, and you can also get me on Skype, it's FrankRizzo3, but instant message me first. Please. Somebody called during the last segment. You gotta get me on instant message, and then I'll bring you up on a break when it is time for you, because I like to get everybody in order. So, gotta point out here, somebody, was it Robinson? Who the hell? Gotta tell you, this whole secure credit stuff is complete and utter garbage. There's absolutely no merit to that crap whatsoever. That if you just stamped it, refused or accepted for value and send it back, if it may sound interesting. I don't know. It never. What I always found interesting was like flat Earth stuff, that people could actually take that crap serious. If you're going to look into that stuff, research it, sure. if you've got the time to waste on that, but at least do it critically and challenge it. To ask questions. The people who are putting this stuff out, ask them, what's the logical basis? Does it pass logical muster? Has it had any success whatsoever? It's like Mike is going to have to pony up some evidence to support his claims. I think this idea of Trump getting constitutional sheriffs that are going to arrest federal judges, callers, just bear with me for a second here. He pointed out that Title 8, that when they violate their oath, that Title 18 is their undoing, it gets them in prison. And I said, well, good luck with that, because no federal prosecutor, even if what you're saying is true about Title 18, will they arrest a judge, a federal judge? Even if it's a state judge. Okay, the sheriff does not enforce, a constitutional sheriff does not enforce Title 18 of the United States Code. Trump getting constitutional sheriffs? Oh my God. Oh, mon Dieu. Help me out with it. You're going to have to get some evidence there. So please, you're going to have evidence of that. It's like anything else. It has to be evidence. And there's absolutely no evidence and no rational basis for this secured creditor stuff. I don't know why this keeps coming up, but hey, it's YouTube. You gotta take the good with the bad, and even though so much is so bad. But the idea that constitutional sheriffs will be arresting judges for violations of Title 18 that doesn't make that just doesn't wash. And I've barely spent any time investigating that. So I would suggest, if you're going to get into this secured creditor stuff and, just, you know what? I actually have got to go out and say, no, just don't. I don't want to be accused of censoring I just don't think you should waste your time with this crap. It doesn't pass. You don't get to a point where you can say, well, has this been successful in court? Because you can't pass the first test. The first test should be, is it logical? Is it true? Okay. Then you can see if it's effective, and then can it be replicated? I seriously doubt any. But hey, I'm open. I'm open to the evidence. Well, Robert, it's not just you that I'm addressing. It's just so many other people that still seem to be getting into that. And I'm not saying that you were doing that as far as trying to convince me that it works without any actual proof. But there are people that have called the show or maybe this will save somebody the time of going into something like that. It's been sufficient, and it's very effective to just take the claims that they're making and challenge that. Where is the evidence to support the claims that they're actually making against you? Keeping the burden of proof, the focus on the prosecutor. If they could prove their claim that the laws applied and you violated them, they would just present it. They wouldn't start screaming frivolous. They wouldn't start making excuses that they don't have to. They would just present the damn proof, but they don't. They don't. Well, hey, I'm glad, Robert, if I saved you time and especially the trouble that you could have caused yourself or somebody else that did something like the secured credit crap, we're good. We're good. We're good. All right, so let me get back to the calls. He's been on the show before. We got Home Bumming It from Riverside. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, Mark.
How can I help you today?
Yeah, I went ahead and I got a question for you because I tried to submit demurs and Brady requests, and the judge told me that he couldn't even read them unless I was represented. And I refused a public defender, so I refused to do that, and then they gave me a waiver to waive my rights so that I could appear pro per. And Yeah, I was just wondering, how would you handle that?
Well, I would call the judge out and say, objection, I think you're lying to me. I can represent, I can defend myself. And so if you're going to insist that you can't read my motion because I have to be, because I'm unrepresented, you're going to have to cite the law that actually, prohibits you from reading my motion. Could you imagine for a moment they actually passed the law and you see them on the assembly floor? It is, it's the legislature of the state of California has determined it is in the public interest that judges not be allowed to read legal pleadings in court if the individual who is submitting said pleading is not represented by counsel. I mean, come on. And that's what you did. You would object and call him out on that. Sir, you're going to have to cite that rule for me because I don't think that's true.
Okay.
And
so
a simple, well, then you
how
also
does this make it fair? How does
Well,
this make a fair and meaningful hearing if you can't hear me?
Yeah, well, if he's not going to, back that up because he is lying to you, then you should definitely, I would file a motion to change the judge. And I would use the word lying and misleading. I would use those words in the motion to disqualify the judge, that he's so biased against you. And it couldn't, it's certainly not from anything that came up in court. It's certainly, so you can't say it's a judicial bias. It's obviously something he took to the court with him, I would imagine, that he is lying to you, that he can't even read your motion because you don't have a lawyer. What?
Right, because I'm not represented. So one more question, sir, is, I lost it. Never mind. Have a good day.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. I appreciate that. You can always put that in the chat if you get it. We were up against the break soon in just a moment anyway. So, I did a video a while back about common judicial lies. Judges lie every time they open up their mouth practically. That's all lawyers can do is lie, and distract and lie again. There's a reason why lawyers are one of the most hated professions, because they're liars. They're arrogant and they lie. And it's so difficult to get a straight answer out of any of them. And I speak from much personal experience. And if you don't believe me, just watch the Kavanaugh hearings. It's almost impossible to get a straight answer out of a lawyer. And put a robe on them? Damn near impossible. Yes, welcome back to the No Stay Project here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM. And you can join me. It's 218-632-9399. 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020. You can get me on Skype. Please do not call during a live broadcast. I cannot connect you that way. So you have to instant message me first. So I'm putting that also into the chat. I've got it copied and pasted. So please keep that in mind. Real quick before I get back to the calls. There's a reason why I go out of my way and I say it so often that it really is one of the underlying tactics that we employ, or I employ when I'm dealing with a bureaucrat in or out of court. Assume that what they're saying is a lie so that you will be on your toes to get them to verify it. This judge said to somebody in open court he couldn't read his motion. Couldn't read a motion because he was defending himself. Now, I get accused of pulling things out of my butt all the time. I wonder if our resident troll is going to say, well, that judge... No, because judges are always given such deference. I don't believe in doing that. I don't believe in being a damn bootlicker. Well, I don't want to upset the judge. Don't get the judge mad. If he's lying, you object and you call him out on it. Chances are because they're so dishonest and they're so vile. They're such terrible people. They're such poor examples of professionals. Which is why people have to be forced to pay them. But at least you can go later and you can bring out this jackass actually refuses to even read my motion because he says, I'm not represented. Good Lord. Oh, the day when the tide starts to turn, when people actually see bureaucrats and lawyers for the type of people that they are. Con men, criminals, who just equivocate like it's a full-time job. Words mean everything to them when it comes to what they are trying to prove. Whatever the words mean. But nail them on a contradiction, nail them on something where they're wrong, they change the word. Well, that's not what the word means. Well, you say tomato, I say tomato. You say rape, I say, just locker room talk. That's what you get in the legal profession. Not all of them, but hell, I don't run into too many that don't do that. I don't know. So let's get back to the calls. I believe we have Chuck on Skype. Chuck?
Hello?
Holy.
Yeah.
Is this Chuck?
Yeah. This is Chuck. So I had that question I was talking to you over email about. You said that, so I submitted my writ, and I submitted the motion to stay, and you mentioned something about the clerk giving me a summons. Now, would that be in the mail, or was that supposed to be like by hand?
When you file an original action, this is for everybody. When you file, and where are you calling from, Chuck?
Oh, this is Texas.
Texas. Okay, so when you file an original action, it doesn't matter what type of original civil proceeding is that you file a complaint. You have to. The clerk is going to issue you a summons, and they're going to put a stamp on it. Okay, they're going to seal it. So, it'll be a raised seal on the summons. That summons is got to be served with your petition. Let's say it's your civil complaint, whether it's a petition for writ or whatever. That has to be served on the respondent or the defendant. In your case, it's going to be the judge because you're doing a petition for writ of mandamus, I believe.
Right.
And so somebody over the age of 18 who's not a party to the proceeding has to then serve or hand a copy to the judge so that they, because that supposedly starts the process. So that now they know that they have 21 days to respond or a judgment will be entered against him. That's not the case with you. They can't do that when the government is you can't default to government agency or agent. But that's yes. So I know you had emailed me about what the clerk had said. They were supposed to give you, and that's why when you go in, you have to tell them because they're not always going to give it to you. You have to tell them, I need the summons that I can then serve my petition with.
So you recommend I go back up there? Because when I called the court in, they were just lying left and right to me. I said, "Do you guys have a notary in the building?" They said, "No, sir, we don't." And I was like, "What in the world? A court building without a notary?" And so I went in there. Of course, I got my documents notarized. But so you just recommend that I go back up there and demand for the summons?
Well, you don't have to demand. You show them what you filed. Look, I was in here the other day and I filed this civil action, and I was not given a summons to serve, and they'll give you the summons.
Okay. And what's interesting is that it seemed like when I went back to to deliver a certificate of service to the plaintiff at the main trial courthouse, the cops that are in the front, they were kind of blocking me out. They were kind of blocking me out. So that was kind of weird.
Well,
they said, well, the courthouse wasn't closed, but they're like, you can't come in here. I'm like, what? What in the world? I was like, but it's open, right? And they're like, yeah, but they're all gone. So I was just kind of dumbfounded. I was like, what? Like, I've never been denied entry to a court before, even like while it was open. That was just weird.
Well, I can only speculate on what was going on there, but to get this process moving for you, yeah, you're gonna have to get a sealed original summons, and obviously you can make copies that you would be, you would file with if you do it, or whether you have someone do it or you have a process server do it, they're gonna have to file a certificate of service and a copy of the summons that was served. Obviously, the original can't, because that's going to be served. But yeah, you're going to have to go back to the court, because there has to be if there isn't a court seal on the summons, then you didn't serve it.
Shite. So it's not even going to be like recognized in the system if I don't have the summons with the seal.
Yeah. You could just, because anyone could just print the summons up and serve it. That doesn't then obligate then whoever was served to then respond to it. I mean, and no lawyer, no one who knows anything about about legal procedures can look at. They'll look at that and say, well, there's nothing that needs to be done here, because there isn't a seal.
Right.
So we're up against a break. So let me mute you up. So hold on just a second, Chuck. My name's Mark Stevens. You're listening to the No State Project here on the Liberty Radio Network and streaming live on my YouTube channel. You want to join me on the big show? It's 218-632-9399. 218-632-9399. We'll be back in just a few moments. Don't go away. Welcome back to the No State Project. LRN.FM. The Liberty Radio Network is where we originate. We're also streaming live on my YouTube channel. And guys, you just don't, you're getting trolled. You're getting made fun of. You're getting insulted. I don't know why anybody would engage trolls like that, but I've given up. I made my own mistake. It's just not worth the time. But you can also join me here on the big show. It's 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. Passcode is 2020. And the hashtag, 2020 on a hashtag. And you can also get me on Skype, like Chuck in Texas, by instant messaging me on Skype at Frank Rizzo 3. Frank Rizzo 3. So let me bring Chuck back up. Chuck, welcome back. I'm sorry, where? We were talking about the service. Did I lose Chuck? And Chuck dropped off. Okay. That happens. Will not be able to connect Chuck, so I don't know what happened there. So, anyway, if you want to join me, it looks like we lost some callers too. Oh gosh. Well, I don't know. Is it... Well, my stream is still going, so I don't think it's an internet issue on my end, my Skype line, but and I'm still connected to the call line. But it is 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. Passcode is 2020, and the passcode is 2020 with the hashtag. And, it's something I see on Facebook all the time. Which is why I don't engage typically on Facebook, because people are just trolling. And they're laughing at you and having a grand old time, making fun of you, making you look stupid. There are sometimes, it's YouTube or it's Facebook, and people are not looking to have an intellectual discussion. They just want to make fun of you. I mean, imagine there was a video that I saw today. And it was I didn't respond to it because I know what's going to happen if you do. And it was again, I'm an anarchist, and it was supposedly some gag book, and it said how socialism works. And they had the sickle and everything, the Russian thing on there, and so how socialism works. And you open it up, and on every single page, it says it doesn't. So it goes through like 25, 30 pages, and on each page, front and back, it just says it doesn't. And it doesn't help anybody, I would imagine, at least on Facebook, to post on something like that. Because if even I, as an anarchist, was to go and say, well, I got to tell you, I've lived in Mesa for since 1993. Well, I've lived in Arizona since 1993. And from there, I was, Long Island. So I've lived, quite a number of decades as an adult. And I got to tell you that I typically have water, that when I go turn the water on, the water comes on. The sanitation, I've actually, I've done some yard work, whatnot, and had to take things to the dump, and, the dump is running and it goes. And, the roads, they may not be perfect, but I can usually travel pretty safely on the roads. And so that would be evident. Now, those are commonly owned. The people, allegedly own them. They're commonly owned and paid for. So you can also look at colleges. Right now, this is probably why it's, I don't get as many viewers today, but you have college football that's going on. And college football generates a tremendous amount of money. There are a lot of people that engage in college football, for example, that get degrees and go on and be very productive. So you could post those things and show that while not perfect, these are examples of where socialism works. You can see where socialism works in the world too well when you have the United States military. That is socialism. Doesn't mean I'm a socialist, but the point I'm making is you can point out that you have over 200 years of the United States military, for example, which is an example of socialism, that works. It does work. The problem people have is they don't understand what socialism is. They just think socialism bad. Yeah, there are bad aspects, just like there are bad aspects of capitalism. What we have now is we have a combination. The United States has always been a combination of socialism and capitalism. So if I had posted something like, if I had just posted actual proof that went counter to this video that was posted, can you imagine the crap storm that would have happened? Be just like you get here on YouTube, okay? Because that's what happens. It's not a medium for intelligent, honest, open discourse. That's why I stopped allowing comments on my videos for that very reason. I mean, I just got lazy and then let it happen again. Someone's saying, Mark, you were incorrect. It doesn't work. See Venezuela. I'm giving you real life examples of socialism. If you want to point to Venezuela and just say that that is strictly because of common ownership and common ownership and payment were the only factors in what happened in Venezuela, then you don't know recent history. Just with Venezuela, one of the big problems was the dramatic drop in oil prices. It's a multifaceted problem, and you can't say that the problems in Venezuela is strictly socialism, because Venezuela is not strictly socialist. Venezuela, like the United States, is a combination of socialism and capitalism. Not every... you see, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Trying to have a rational... Well, if somebody wants to join me, and discuss this, we could do it on the show rather than on YouTube comments, which typically don't go anywhere. But the examples I gave is like college football example is an example of socialism that works. Now it's a different argument that there shouldn't be collectively, collective ownership of colleges. But to turn around and say it doesn't work, you're wrong. And we can't reduce Venezuela to one particular aspect of Venezuelan society. You have any idea how complex a society Venezuela or the United States is? There's a reason why people need economic degrees to speak, somewhat intelligently about economics. Someone's saying socialism does not effing work. Now you've lost your marbles. Mike, I'm giving you real life contemporary examples of socialism where socialism works. I may not necessarily agree with that, with that there should be socialism, but to turn around and say it doesn't work is just wrong. Look, it does. Slavery worked. It was immoral. That's a different argument, though. So that Facebook and whatnot, and one of the worst things that you can look at is discussing veganism. I could just say veganism. Watch the hate. It doesn't matter. Oh, it's wrong to hurt people. Got it. Yeah, I'm all for it. It's hurt to be cruel and hurt animals. Got it. You're absolutely right. We shouldn't kill and eat animals for food. Oh, extremist! How dare you? Virtue signaling! Yeah. We'll be back here on the No State Project in just a moment. But if you want to join me on the show, it's 218-632-9399. The passcode is 2020. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project here at LRN.FM, the Liberty Radio Network. And also streaming live on my YouTube channel. It's No State Project there on the YouTube. Get subs because we are going to be doing a lot more live streams, especially with the role-playing. There is a crap storm going on, and I wish I could do screen, and get the comments and put that on the live stream, because then I wouldn't pull it down. I started talking about socialism. See, my whole position it was just thrown. It's like no one chatting here is paying attention. I started this by saying I'm an anarchist. I don't necessarily support socialism and want socialism. What I'm doing is pointing out that the argument it doesn't work is wrong, and I get this crap storm that I'm shocked. I gave contemporary examples of socialism that work, that are working. Just like I can turn around and show that slavery worked as an economic model. Slavery worked. It still works because you have child labor still today working for pennies. Thanks, like Nike. Everyone thinking, oh, Nike's getting into such social thing. They don't give a damn about Colin Kaepernick or black men being killed in their home. They don't care. They still have child labor making their stuff. They don't give a damn. But all I did was give examples, contemporary examples of socialism that work. And I get this. So let me address this. Someone's saying, I think it's Justin, it doesn't work. How can you argue jurisdiction but say socialism works? Because they're two different things. They're not the same thing. It's apples and oranges. Socialism, oh my gosh. Again, I'm not necessarily advocating for this. I'm talking about just pointing out where an argument is wrong. So if you go to Wikipedia, socialism is a range of economic and social systems characterized by social ownership and workers' self-management of the means of production. So wouldn't the water system in a city qualify? It could even qualify as communism because it was a violent takeover, a violent control of the means of production. But it's still socialism. Social ownership may refer to forms of public, collective, or cooperative ownership, or to citizen ownership of equity. There are many varieties of socialism, and there's no single definition encapsulating all of them, though social ownership is the common element shared. So I'm not incorrect in stating that colleges in the United States, for example, are socialist. They're believed to be commonly owned and run and paid for. So that is just all I'm doing is showing that the argument that socialism doesn't work is wrong. So when you start talking about Germany, you start talking about China, it's not just the socialism. It was the violence associated with it. It was the violence that was a key part of the downfall. Because the violence led to not just people dying, but it also led to massive corruption. And that's something we're dealing with still today. It is the violent hierarchy that creates the psychological problems that we see in court and with the police. Why don't police have any respect for us? It's the violent hierarchy that they're a part of. Not because of socialism itself. It's because of the violent hierarchy. I can't see. This is exactly why I don't post on Facebook, and I don't usually respond to YouTube comments, because all you do is debunk an argument without merit about socialism, and all of a sudden I'm a socialist. That's not how logic works, you know. I can't. No wonder no one wants to call the show. It's just a matter. Just beat your keyboard up about Marx. I can't believe it. This is what, you know. We have to understand the terms that we're using. And I think it's very important, if you're going to be talking about socialism and the evils of socialism, know what the hell you're talking about first. Remove first. Again, let's look at what I talk about, the three things. Is it logical? Has it worked? Has it been replicated? Has it been effective? You can see every time there's a new so-called, state, they continue doing with collectively owned services, such as water, sanitation, the roads. It is not accurate to say it doesn't work. Now, if you've got a problem with Venezuela, you're going to have to do a little bit better than just socialism to support your argument. Because I don't know anybody who knows anything about contemporary history or world history that would turn around and say there was one single reason for the demise of the Soviet Union. One, and that was socialism. No! I'm no expert on the fall of the. It's like saying Rome collapsed because of slavery, and they practice socialism there too. Wow. I guess I shouldn't. I shouldn't be surprised. That's why I say don't feed the trolls on YouTube but now here's a pretty good example where people, you can't even separate a discussion of the argument from my own personal beliefs and what I espouse, what I suggest. I even went through the trouble to say I'm not a socialist, I'm an anarchist. It didn't matter. I would imagine that the overwhelming majority of people that were triggered by me talking about socialism, that you were born and raised in the United States, because it's very. I would be really surprised if I'd be really surprised if all the people jumping, pigpiling on me about that being a socialist, if those people. Well, why don't we do that? Why don't we? The people that were shocked and outraged at me talking about socialism actually working, why don't you post where you were born or where you were raised? And I'm not going to. I'd be really surprised if I was in Toronto. I tell you. I guess I judging from this. Judging from this, boy, I made the right choice in not posting on Facebook under there and giving just examples, actual facts to counter the argument that the video had. Lack of critical thought and analysis here. Pay attention. So that is one of Irving Younger's 10 commandments for cross-examination. And I think it's 6 or 7. and it says, "Listen to the answer." It's my best Irving Younger impersonation. Listen! So, anyway, I do recommend people watching it. Even if you don't watch it, if you just look up Irving Younger it'll give his actual 10 commandments of cross-examination. And that's one of them. Actually, just you have to listen. And that's the thing about an argument. An argument should be that the people engaging in the argument, and I'm not talking about contention, I'm talking about an actual argument that you would go to the argument clinic for. And the idea is so that the people engaged in the argument both come away of having a better understanding. They may not agree with each other's position, but they should at least, if it's going to be a valid argument, should at least have a better understanding of the other side. Why is it that you believe this? Why do you believe that socialism, even if it's completely voluntary and doesn't have a prison system behind it, why do you believe that that's wrong? You can't point to socialism in Venezuela. You can't do fascism in Germany. You can't point to any of that to address that argument. My question: socialism, common ownership, a community like a city of Mesa or Gilbert. If there's no coercion involved, what is wrong with the socialism there? What is wrong with doing it voluntary and no violation of the non-aggression principle? That I'd like to hear. I totally screwed that up. Welcome back to the No State Project. I am glad I looked at that. So thanks, Foreign. I was talking about socialism. So I'll repeat what I said, that Mike seems to think that socialism equals violence and coercion and whatnot. But I do want to point out, Foreign is asking me why I'm wearing an Ireland shirt. I'm half Irish. I'm half Irish, half Sicilian. So that's, joke around, if you will. There's plenty of jokes to go around for someone who's half Sicilian, half Irish. So one day I won't just have the Irish shirt, but I'll get I do have to get a Carini Sicily shirt if they have them available. No, that's not what so anyway, Mike is saying that socialism is inherently evil, that it equals threat, duress, coercion, and murder. Socialism, evil, 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 evil. And if you go to the actual definition of socialism, is a range of economic and social systems characterized by social ownership and work as management of the means of production. There are many varieties of socialism, and there is no single definition encapsulating all of them, though social ownership is the common element shared by its various forms. See, this reminds me of a lot of the crap that a band I really enjoy, the stupid comments that they have gotten over the years. And so alleged journalists interviewing them would think that they, and make comments or ask questions implying that the guys in Slayer were Satanists, and that they were Nazis, that they loved, that they were like Trump supporter type, alt-right type people, that they were actually Nazis. And they're like, what are you talking about? Are you out of your mind? Well, you have so many songs about the devil, and and Angel of Death. You sing songs about Hitler, and like, what the hell does? And they couldn't make the connection that talking about something, or even writing a song like Angel of Death. Love the song, great song. It's on Rain and Blood, one of the best albums of the '80s. And they had they had to point out that the History Channel does documentaries on Hitler. Does that mean that they're Nazis just because you write about it? So here, it's like the same stupid thing. All I did was call out an argument, and all of a sudden people are getting triggered and think that I'm a socialist. But I can point out an argument is incorrect without actually supporting the underlying issue. What I was getting to is that I think it's, we need to improve our critical thinking. We need to improve our arguments. We need to go based on what's true. If you're going to turn around and use bad arguments, well, Well, you lose credibility. Well, if you're so wrong about socialism, and so obviously wrong about socialism, then how much credibility do you have talking about other subjects that are complex? And if you go ahead and you equate all the problems in Venezuela with socialism, and you don't take into account any of the other factors that went into it, it's a lack of critical analysis. It's a lack of understanding the subject matter, and it's coming off half-cocked and making assumptions and whatnot that really just it makes it so that people like me, I don't even want to. I don't even comment usually on my own videos on Facebook because of that. So, if you disagree, well, we got more calls. So, let's see. Oh, he's been on the show before. I'm assuming, Abel, are you still in New Hampshire?
Yeah, I sure am, yeah.
Hey, good to hear that. How are things up in the Granite State?
We just got, my roommate who's working on funding for Gilletta Jarvis, who is just won in the primary for the nomination for the governor of New Hampshire. And I was happy for that choice. We had Aaron Day as the competitor in that, and I think Gillette is a better candidate. So and I'm excited. I'm excited about who Carla Garrick is, right? The former head of the Free State Project.
Former. I didn't know she was. I didn't know that they had. She had not had that position again. No. Okay. Well, what about her?
She resigned when they hit the 20,000. They hit the 20,000, right?
That was a few years ago. Yes.
Yeah. 06, February, and so yeah, she resigned then, and I think we're on our second or third Free State Project, president or chairman of the board or whatever, from before, from Carla. But Carla's actually dual nominated both as a Republican and the LP for the general election for state senator in New Hampshire.
So is this?
And I think she'll
Carla
be a good one.
Carla is running.
Yeah, for state senator. And there's a need for some liberty activism in the Senate. We're doing rather well with the House in the general court in New Hampshire is the place. It's the location where the possibility of liberty, as both of us are looking forward to, is going to be sourced, I think, to some great degree, and has already been making progress in that regard.
Well,
we actually had
making progress.
a reduction.
Well, I need to ask you about the making progress, but we're going to be up against a break here in a second. So, what kind of policy is Carla running on? I mean, what is she? What is she planning on introducing in the assembly?
Well, there's a ton of
hold on one second. We're up against a break. We're up against a break there, Abel. We got plenty of time to discuss this. Welcome back to the No State. Wait, yeah, welcome. We're I didn't mute it. Welcome back to the No State Project here on LRN.FM, streaming live, of course, on my YouTube channel. Remember, on Wednesday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, at least for another few weeks, commercial free 1 hour edition of the No State Project. And not this, and actually next Saturday, I will not be doing a live broadcast. All new material on Saturday, but I will be doing it on my YouTube channel now. On Friday, I will let everybody know about the time on Wednesday, but I will be doing 2 hours of a YouTube stream on Friday, and then that will be on will then stream on lrn.fm. So definitely check that out. I want to get back, talk with Abel in New Hampshire. So I was asking what kind of first I want to know about what the actual policies Carla is running on, and then I'll ask you about the making progress. So what is Carla actually running on? Ah, come on. It shows that you're still there. Abel.
Aha. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I couldn't hear you.
Somehow I was muted.
Okay, so
I don't know.
So what policies?
So I was just saying, what policies? I was just saying, one of the main things is there's a ton of law that needs to be repealed. More than half of the people that are incarcerated in jails and prisons in New Hampshire are, the state plays the victim. There is no actual victim in these crimes. The whole range of contraband crimes, the whole range of a traffic law. There's just and I'm not talking about the kinds of things that people need to behave, just to safely be on the road. I'm talking about things like, you pick up, a mobile phone sitting on the seat next to you because it rang, and you just want to pick it up and look at it. And if a cop happens by when you're doing that momentary action, not necessarily even generating a call or doing any kind of texting or anything like that, just looking at the phone, but you picked it up and it was in your hand, and the cop sees you, you can be detained for that.
Yeah, but
the idea of detainment, for nothing.
Well, that's not nothing.
Basically,
there's a big difference between not having a driver's license or not having a current registration, the license plate, as opposed to being distracted while you're driving. People die because people are distracted by their phones. That people actually.
Oh
die.
Yeah, well, and distracted driving ought to be a. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. All right. So I get. So she is running on a platform, at least partially, that there should not be jail time for victimless crime. So if somebody is just accused of a code violation, it shouldn't warrant. She wants to strip the jail time penalties.
Yeah. The number of detainments, I think, is continues to ramp up for things that are not causing or likely to cause any risk, and
Sure.
And so those things you need to be taken out of the code.
Right. So
there's other things
such as
cripes. There's taxation. The ramping up of the cost of schools is going crazy, and the complete wrong thing of government indoctrination is what they're using to steal all this tax money to pay. We had a Supreme Court decision called the Claremont decision that has, the word cherish education, the word cherish education in the New Hampshire Constitution are now defined as we must fund education. And, that just, for me, is, cherishing and then, going beyond that and saying we got to wave guns at people in order to fund what that cherished thing is just idiotic. And yet I don't know if it's doubled or tripled. The taxation for schools has gone berserk, and there hasn't been an iota of improvement in producing excellent learners for children. Okay, so that's
So what
stuff that needs to be fixed.
Okay, so she wants to get rid of the criminal penalties or the incarceration penalties for nonviolent. I get behind that, and do something about lowering taxes. Now we're gonna. All right. So before I ask the other question, that's a pretty good platform. I'm pretty, I would say most libertarians who still vote would be behind that. Is there any other part of her platform that you can remember? You see, I don't think this is my end. But I haven't read that Claremont decision. It's the first I've heard of it. I would like to see that. But they've been paying for education under their constitution for well over 100 years. So that's the only thing that they know how to do. If they cherish it, then let's force everyone to pay for it. That's the only way they know how to go about doing it. That's what they know. They force strangers to give them money under the guise of roads or schools, the police, fire. And if you disagree with that, then they usually the charge is, you don't cherish education. You don't think people should be educated. No, I just don't think we need to pay for it by ruining people's lives in the process. Oh, I'm going to see what we can do about getting Abel back on the program here. If you want to join me in one of these last few segments of the big show, it's 218-632-9399. I wish somebody would call, like Mike would call, and tell me exactly what he believes socialism is so we can have a discussion on this and see where the problem is. But we'll be back. And if you want to join me again, the number is 218-632-9399, 218-632-9399. Passcode is 2020 with that there #. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. Of course, you want to join me in the last couple segments. It's 218-632-9399. But the passcode is 2020 with the #, or 2020 with the hashtag if you are under 25. You can also Skype me, instant message me first, and when I can join you up on the show during a break. Just before I bring back Abel, Justin saying socialism in regards to how it's been practiced works is like presuming the prosecution has evidence of jurisdiction, lacks content and sustenance or substance. It's actually not, because I gave real-world contemporary examples. Like right now, the example I gave was college football. That's an example of socialism. And they're not running out of money anytime soon. So it's apples and oranges. That's a real-life example that we can prove independently. It's not just my say-so. I'm not just saying that. You can prove that. And fire. I had to break it to someone I know recently that firemen, the fire protection is socialist. So, let's have it like in Rome. I can't remember some of these senators became fabulously wealthy because they had the money for a fire service, and they would actually get to your place and you'd have to negotiate for payment, or your house would be burned down. They wouldn't touch it. So, but it's socialism. Doesn't mean that we don't, those are contemporary examples of where it works. Is it perfect? No. Am I advocating for it? I didn't say that. I'm just saying the argument that it's just like that. The argument that it doesn't work is wrong. And then now, and someone's saying that public education, they don't teach you anything. Come on, that's not true. We're trying to have some precision in our arguments, because if you're trying to persuade somebody, you have to have a precise, logical argument based on facts. And to say the public schools don't teach anything, does anyone think it's just like with the police? Do you really think that they could get away with not doing anything, and the people wouldn't, something wouldn't be done about it? The people would write, would actually do something? If everyone was guilty and it wasn't even a pretense of fairness, come on. If the schools weren't teaching anything, that would be a problem, and people would do something to change it. So I get mocked because, well, they teach math. That just is I'm not saying that it's a great institution. What I'm saying is your argument sucks. Your assertion or your argument is wrong. It's wrong to say the schools don't teach anything. It's a crappy argument. Anyway, we're going to see if can we get Abel back?
Hello.
Yes, Abel. Let me ask you this, because you said this is something that I've wanted to do, and
can I respond to the school thing for a second?
Sure.
I just, they are teaching stuff. I got a lot from my schooling back in the 50s and 60s. And I was one who enjoyed going there and getting the information. But I think that the actual effect of the way they're doing it, and I think it's even worse now, that it's a bad choice. And to not have, the market in place to some degree and offer competition, where this funding that they're stealing from us in the first place is distributed amongst different, homeschoolers and other private schools, and I have no problem even with religious schools, as long as they just cordon off the religious training and have it an optional thing for students who want the good religious schools but don't want the religious training. This is just common sense to me. And of course, the teachers' unions and the powers that be understand that what they're teaching is serfdom and slavery and soldiering and whatever else, not good things in the culture of America, where entrepreneurialism is the king and ought to be what they teach. They don't do that. And so I have a real problem with government schools.
They're all real problems. There are. But to say that they don't teach anything is wrong, and then is a bad argument. And to say that socialism doesn't work, that's just a bad argument because it's contradicted by everyday evidence that in history. So it was just a matter of pointing out the bad argument. The point. Okay. So I wanted to ask you, because someone had reached out to me, a Free State Project participant, because there aren't members, and I was going to start having more participants on.
Right.
I'm glad you called, because I haven't been able to get anyone. They haven't contacted me with anybody. But what progress, at least in the last few years, have the Free State Project participants made as far as scaling back the size of the New Hampshire governments?
Oh, well, we've gotten rid of, knife laws. There's no more edged weapon laws. We've gotten rid of we have constitutional carry now, which means that if you're not a restricted person, that you can open or conceal carry, at your wish. There seems to be one remaining
concealed carry. You weren't able
to get rid of. What's that?
You weren't able to conceal carry in New Hampshire?
Well, no, it was licensed, and it was a $10 for 5 years or whatever, and it was a shall issue arrangement. But we've gotten rid of the shall issue and any requirement for licensure. So that was just a kind of an incremental improvement of the freedom of gun usage.
And so these rollbacks were based on work that was done from Free State Project participants.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In the marijuana thing, I mean, we have passed numerous, in the House, even in the Senate, decrim and marijuana, medical marijuana laws, and we've had idiotic Democratic governors actually veto some of this shit.
Well, the thing with pot, though, but the thing with pot, I think there's like 38 other states that have done that, and so you can point to this was directly related to the work done by Free State Project participants in that.
Yeah. Another thing that was spearheaded by Free Staters is and not even legislators. We've had people do lobbying to get some of this stuff done. We've got nano brewery set up so that people can open up a craft brewery and actually serve beer in a pub, with some small modicum of food being served.
We're up against the break, so we'll finish in the next set. Hold on 1 second. We won't be able to hear you. My name is Mark Stevens, listening to the No State Project right here on the Liberty Radio Network, streaming live on my YouTube channel. Yes, welcome back to the No State Project. We're in the last segment of the big show. We try to get to everybody. If you miss it, Wednesday we will be back, commercial-free, 3 p.m. West Coast time. And for the time being, Arizona time. I want to bring Abel back. We have a few minutes. Try to get to everyone here today. So I'm sorry, you had to get cut off because we wouldn't hear you during the bumper. Can we not have Abel again?
That's all right.
There we go. He's back.
Hello.
So yeah, we were talking about some of the rolling back of the decriminalization of the marijuana laws there in New Hampshire.
Also, one of the things we kept out was there's no requirement for car insurance. There's no requirement for helmets or seatbelts amongst adults. I mean, I like people to wear helmets and seatbelts, but I don't want, us to send agents with guns out to do that for people. That's extreme and dangerous and, in some cases deadly.
Well, sure.
Right?
I'm amazed that they were able to do that and the insurance lobby wasn't able to get it to stop it. That it's no more compulsory insurance. I didn't know that, and that is wow. I can imagine how much money the insurance lobbies, the insurance companies, must have paid some of these legislators to stop that from happening. I'm amazed that happened.
But even still, Mark, the reality of it is that the compared, we've got people moving in from all over where, the actual numbers of people that are moving, whole families, extended families in some cases, actually moving in and in taking up residence and businesses and everything here in as free staters, those folk are in most cases able, because they come, a lot of them from bigger cities and towns and whatever than what we have here. They also have cheaper insurance. So even in the circumstance where there is no requirement for it, that we're managing. People buy insurance anyway.
Yeah, it's a smart thing to do. But just like I put a seatbelt on not because some politician in Phoenix said to do that. I put the seatbelt on because it's the smart thing to do, and I value my own life. Well, that's great to hear. I'm going to have to reach out again and get.
And you also know how physics works.
Yeah. I losing a friend will do that to you, and overcome any resistance you may have. To realize she would have just been bruised. She would have been dead. So, especially like with motorcycle helmets, you get hit. Yeah. That's a big one too. So I wish I had more time, Abel, but you've reminded me I have to reach out to some sitting members in the legislature in New Hampshire and have them on the show and hear more from people.
There's definitely, I think there's going to be a really big uptick in the number of free staters that are actually elected. I don't actually think that electoral politics is the right answer necessarily. I think in the short term, it's a way of incrementally, disempowering. The trouble is that you can turn around and reelected a whole bunch of progressives, and then they'll just repass all this crapola, and we end up right back where we left off. I think that we need to have a voluntary understanding of how people interact, and we need to reduce or eliminate coercion.
Well, yeah,
and
absolutely.
You and I think are on the same page on that, and we can't do it with a majoritarian democracy. We need a true democrat of democracy of people governing themselves in a voluntary manner without a ruling Republican class. Understanding.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I appreciate the call, and I'm going to make a point on Monday to start making some calls and getting some more free staters on and getting some more regular updates on what's going on there. So I appreciate the call. Good to hear from you.
Yeah. Well, you can contact me anytime you want.
That's true.
And if you want that, I call in every now and again. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Have a good one. Appreciate that. Yeah. And Ian Freeman, who's going to be on Free Talk Live here in a few minutes. Maybe I'll have to tap. I know he was kicked out, and I don't like that aspect of it. But maybe we can tap Ian one of these days to give us an update. But we have only a few minutes left here for last call. Eric in California, welcome back to the show. What do you have for us today?
Yep. I did.
Eric, baby. Well, we don't have enough time. I'll try again in a few. Yeah, I know that's actually, I've known Abel for 10 years now, and met him at the I guess it was the 2010 Pork Fests, and I'm very skeptical about that. I it's no offense. I do have to look online, and I have to check this and confirm that the insurance law was changed. That's not actually compulsory over there in New Hampshire. Kudos if it's true. That's fantastic. But wow, I would imagine how easy it would be for the insurance companies to spend millions of dollars lobbying to get that changed. I'll have to check it. But yeah, I'm sure it's not like everyone stopped getting insurance, but it probably maybe what it did was people getting, insurance for those who are not covered may have increased. So it may have evened out. But the idea of using men with guns to enforce that, yeah, that's not good. But But the whole thing with pot too, I don't know how much it had to do with free staters, because 38 states have decriminalized marijuana. And so it's kind of a trend that was already happening. So I don't know. I need to have more information, maybe talk to somebody's legislators and people that, or people in the state assembly that maybe helped do that work. I don't know. I'm completely ignorant on this, so I don't know. It just seems outlandish that you have compulsory insurance and then you can pass a law, repeal that. I mean, great. I don't think the whole solution to getting a voluntary society is political, of course, but seeing something like that, if that's hey, if they can actually point to policies or laws that were changed, that's evidence. You can't dispute that if that's what actually happened. So we'll see what happens there. It's and I want to get back to somebody. Truth Serum had asked, if a judge violates due process, does that strip them of immunity? No. Judges have absolute immunity for everything they do on the bench that they have jurisdiction over, or if they act in excess of their jurisdiction. They're only stripped of immunity if they never had jurisdiction to begin with. So if there's no evidence of jurisdiction from the very beginning, they don't have any immunity. But if they do something malicious in excess of their jurisdiction, then the Supreme Court turns a blind eye and extends them their absolute immunity. So I'm glad that I was able to get to that before the big broadcast ended today. Again, I will be live on the Wednesday broadcast, commercial free. So if we missed you today, then definitely call me in. So till then, salud.